disgusted. I'm disgusted. To me, this seems fucking blatantly political. Forgive me. Sorry. And it's upsetting me.
What is going on?
It's just disgusting, Arthur. The Hillary Clinton juxtaposition is the most compelling one. She scrubbed her servers. She destroyed her cell phones. She had classified information that she did not turn over. And Comey came out and said, there's no crime. And now, because it's Donald Trump, who, by the way, had the power to declassify, unlike Hillary, and he looks like he's regaining steam to recapture this nomination, he's got to be charged. And it looks like he's probably going to be charged in Georgia, too. That's the third. That would be the third indictment. And Jack Smith may have a fourth indictment up his sleeve because he's investigating him for Jan 6th, too.
So the reason why and this is not a good reason, but the reason why I'm not maybe as upset as you are, and Dave, you can take the fifth on this. I watch this happen all the time. It's called selective prosecution. They choose who they go after and who they don't. And obviously the stakes here are much higher, but I'm watching it for the little people, for the little folks who are, there's 25 people doing the exact same thing, and they highlight 5 of them, maybe because their name ends in a vowel, or maybe because it's more likely to get in the New York Post. But I mean, look, I'll give you a perfect example. When I stood up at the sentencing of Harvey Weinstein, that exact judge sentenced someone who did much worse, drugged people and sentenced that person and then raped them and sentenced that person to 7 years. Harvey, on a lesser crime, he gave 23 years. So I mean, it's the system's not fair. So that's why I sense your outrage. But sadly, doing this for 3 decades, I'm not surprised by it.
What do you think, Dave? Because I recognize Trump's behavior, as alleged, is different from the behavior in some ways of Joe Biden and Mike Pence, because he was hit with a subpoena and they're alleging that he did not comply with it, that he moved boxes around, that he willfully deceived the feds who were trying to get whatever he had done. That's the allegation. We'll see whether they can prove it. But that is not even arguably alleged against Biden or Pence, et cetera. But the first crime, the underlying crime before we get to the alleged cover-up, is the same. You took classified documents that you had no right to take.
Well, Megyn's going to be back with you and Arthur. And I love the interview with my old law professor. He's the one who taught me criminal law, Alan Dershowitz. So I agree.
He's taught everybody.
Yeah, he claims to remember like all of his students. I don't believe that, but yeah, he was great. So I was with you when we discussed the Alvin Bragg prosecution. I admitted I thought that was the least strong of the 4. I shared some of the concerns you had on this one, though. I feel differently. These are serious allegations, and yes, it is different than Biden and Pence. But that is really the crux of it. Is that when Trump has admitted he knew he had the documents, and instead of giving them back, he refused and then tried to hide them, according to the allegation, from the feds. And there was an Air Force colonel who did something similarly. He just was sentenced to 3 years in prison. And so, this is the type of thing that gets you prison time. And, no one's above the law. So I think these charges are appropriate. I think of all the cases.
Let me follow up on that with you. Okay. When you say hide, so how is moving documents, if he did that with Nate, from the storage room at Mar-a-Lago into his office, hiding, right? Like maybe he was taking them in there to review. Maybe he looked and said, this is classified, but I declassified it. How is it hiding?
Well, the fact that they're prosecuting Walt Nauta, that's the valet, tells you that Walt Nauta lied to the feds. And this is why they get Trump, because, and what happened was, the feds asked Nauta, did you move the documents? Because, they had evidence that he didn't. He said, no. And then they found on the surveillance tape, the documents were moved before and after. And a lot of this comes from Evan Corcoran, the lawyer for Trump. They got his notes. And he
Can you just stop there? Dave, sorry. Stop there, because the thing with Evan Corcoran is pretty outrageous as lawyers. I mean, it's pretty outrageous what happened with him. But can you just, in baby steps, like in 3 succinct sentences, tell people what happened with the lawyer, Evan Corcoran, who was representing Trump?
Sure. Evan Corcoran was there to produce the documents in response to the subpoena. And he took copious notes about everything he did, because apparently he was trying to, under the legal doctrine, as Arthur knows, called CYA. And so he was trying to protect himself. So what happened was he was reviewing the documents and then made a statement that said that to the feds, that said that all the documents had been returned. Unbeknownst to him, the documents were not returned because he got access to them, but what Trump wanted him to see. The documents were moved in and out of the storage room. He was told the documents are all there in the storage room, but unbeknownst to him, the documents were not all there in the storage room. They had been moved in and out of the room by Walt Nauta so that the lawyer would not find all the documents. And Walt Nauta had lied about moving the documents. They have them on tape. And according to reports, Donald Trump was the one who told Walt Nauta to move the documents around. And I agree with you, Megyn. If that could be Trump's defense, where, I wanted to see the documents and make sure they were all produced. But when the feds came a-calling later on, they found 100 more documents than had been produced, including some in his office mixed in with his personal stuff. So it's bad for Trump. You can't do that.
What about, thank you for that. That was a good explanation. But I'll give it to you in 1 second, Arthur. But to follow up, Dave, what about that? This is where Trump's, I declassified everything, comes in. I did look just to make sure I was giving you everything in there I had declassified. That's why you didn't get it.
And I think that's his best defense, because although the documents don't need to be classified under the Espionage Act or
they don't.
the
That's an important
statute,
point. That's an important point. Repeat that.
Right. Under the Espionage Act. And I would love to talk about 793 without getting too technical, because there's an important point in there. But under the Espionage Act, the documents only have to pertain to sensitive national security, not classified. They do not have to be classified. So number one,
that is critical, and it's bad for Donald Trump.
Right. But prosecutors, and Arthur knows this, we prosecutors are risk averse. We don't like to bring cases unless we can eliminate any potential defenses. And it's our concern, if I had a case like this, that a single juror would think, yeah, maybe Trump actually believed he had the power to declassify. He was president. He had broad authority to declassify. So maybe he believed it, and that's some reasonable doubt. So what the feds were trying to do is to debunk that defense. And when they got that audio recording that you just discussed with Professor Dershowitz, that was the final piece of the puzzle. Not only do the documents not have to be declassified, or not have to be classified, excuse me, but also they've got Trump on tape saying essentially, yeah, I would love to show it to you, but I can't because they're not declassified. And then he shows it to them anyways.
It undermines I declassified everything. I waved the wand when I left office and I declassified everything. If that's true, why you're having hesitation about a document in your possession in 2021? Though, as I pointed out with Alan, we don't know enough about that document. I don't know that it's slam dunk, but even Alan, who defends Trump, though won't vote for him, says it's potentially a smoking gun. Go ahead, Arthur.
Megyn, I'm just wondering, how much is your opinion about whether this indictment should or should not have been brought? What weight does it hold on what actual documents Trump had? And even though they don't have to prove it, and what the motive was why he had these particular documents. Would your opinion change that this is not BS if you found out that there was something nefarious going on?
I mean, he was selling secrets to the Chinese. Yes, I would be upset. Yes. But
well,
no one's even alleging that.
That's the question that I have in my mind. In other words, like hypothetically, let's just say these documents have to do with ribbon cutting ceremonies at very special places, and he wants to make sure his great grandkids have these documents for the future reference, and that this is what they're indicting him over. Then I would be outraged. If it has to do with selling secrets to the Chinese, then I would say, thank God.
Okay, but I get it. Let me say two things on that. Number one, Maggie Haberman of the New York Times had earlier reported he maintained these documents because they were like tchotchkes to him. I want to have a memento of my discussions with Kim Jong-un. Very, very plausible with Trump, whose wall in Trump Tower is covered with magazine covers of him, his face. He's into that kind of thing. But secondly, this alleged audio tape that CNN says it has a transcript of, but again, we haven't heard it ourselves, seems to open up another possible theory, which is Trump understood there is, quote, a deep state. I don't really like that term, but I get what he's saying and other people say about it. There is an unhealthy element inside the government working against him that has hated him and wanted to undermine his presidency and his agenda. And he seems to have collected some documents as insurance. Judge Judy once told me, all of our favorite judge, she keeps a file on everybody. If you go into Judge Judy's world, she's got a file on you. Just in case you doubled across her, just in case you heard her. She's brilliant. Maybe this is Trump's Judge Judy file right? Like Milley's a liar, bullshit. He's the one who wanted a war with Iran. I don't know, but I could see that. I in no world do I see Trump selling secrets to our enemies. Look, you did the tough thing during COVID. You paid your people and pulled your business through the pandemic. And now doing the tough thing could qualify you for up to $26,000 per employee at covidtaxrelief.org. Government funds are available to reward companies with 2 or more employees who stayed open during COVID. It's not a loan, and you don't have to pay it back. The program's complicated, but no one knows more about it than the CPAs and tax experts at covidtaxrelief.org. You pay nothing up front. They do all the work and share a percentage of the cash they get you. Businesses of all types, including nonprofits and churches, can qualify, even those who took PPP loans and even if you had increases in sales. You did the tough thing for your employees during COVID. Now let covidtaxrelief.org help get you up to $26,000 per employee. Visit covidtaxrelief.org. covidtaxrelief.org, covidtaxrelief.org. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.